welcome to Battle Red Radio, your go-to source for all things sports. I'm your host, Kaden Jones, here with Coby Riendeau. He's going to be co-hosting with me today. We've got an exciting show covering everything from the latest sports news. A lot of it happened today. A lot of great news. Great news. We're going to have a really good show today. Also, don't forget to follow us at UHDI Radio on Instagram. And if you want to interact with us on the Radio FX app, make sure to use the chat button. I think we're going to hop right into it today. It is 6:02 p.m. Man, what a day. What a day.
Yeah, normally we got to try and scrounge some topics to talk about because it's the off season for the NFL. And honestly, the NBA, it's past the trade deadline. It's just game recaps. And then, Luka was a big trade that we talked about for a while. But today, after the combine, there was so much going on. And, there's a lot of juice that we're going to get into right now.
Yeah, a lot of people talking to probably GMs, talking to other GMs, figuring out some sort of trades and looking at the talent evaluations, figuring out what their futures are going to be like. And there's a lot of news, so we're not going to be able to spend too much time on a lot of it. So we have a news segment for everybody on Battle Red Radio called the Quick News. There's going to be some news. It might be a small mention, a little bit less opinions, but it's going to keep you guys informed with what's going around in the league. First thing we have on your plate, Eagles release six-time Pro Bowler Darius Slay, profound smack talker on the field and on Twitter. And then along with Darius Slay, the Eagles also released James Bradberry, former All-Pro. This will save up to $6.4 million in cap. I like this decision by the Philadelphia Eagles. I assume you do too.
Yeah, especially because of some other stuff that we're going to get into later and all the, pending free agents they have, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. Howie is kind of a cap genius. He always finds a way to get his guys paid, and part of that is knowing when to let go of veteran players, and I feel like they're letting go of these guys at the perfect time. They had a year to mentor Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, so I feel like now is the perfect time to let him go. They just want a bowl too. Let him out on a good note.
Yeah, especially because another reason why I think they did this is because they found their future. Like their two top cornerbacks now are Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, two Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates. This is a great, like I said last week with the Kansas City Chiefs when they franchise tagged Trey Smith, they don't make very many bad mistakes. Neither do the Philadelphia Eagles. So good stuff here from the reigning Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I think the thing is they could get an average backup, like an average free agent cornerback, and they would be just as good as Darius Slay or James Bradberry was this past season. They're both older cornerbacks. They're mostly there for their mentorship, and they just passed it on to the young guys. So it's time to let them go. Great work, Howie.
Yeah, shout out Howie.
Shout out Howie. He always is going to cook, and he's always going to talk smack directly back to the Philly fans because he knows that they're talking bad about him right now.
Exactly. Next thing that we have, this is not too much of news, but earlier today at 4 p.m., the franchise tag deadline came to a close. So that's why there's kind of like a lot of news today is because either a lot of people got franchise tagged. Well, actually, not that many people got franchise tagged. There was more rumors than anything, but there was just a lot of moves being made because of maybe like a looming deadline.
There's decisions being made to deadline or to franchise tag or to not franchise tag people. And, the act of not franchise tagging somebody, that creates as many ripples in free agency as you deciding to franchise tag somebody.
Exactly. So one of these ripples that you just mentioned, Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold is not going to be franchise tagged and hasn't been franchise tagged after the 4 p.m. deadline. This doesn't seem like a shock to me. I didn't really expect them to get franchise tagged. That's big money, especially if you franchise tag a quarterback. What is that, $40 million a year or something like that?
The thing about the franchise tag is, normally every other NFL contract, there's a certain amount that's fully guaranteed and then a certain amount that gets paid out if you play all your games, and there's incentives that you have to reach to get that money. The franchise tag is not like that. If you sign it, you get paid your contract for 1 year fully guaranteed. So for a quarterback, that gets up to, like he was just saying, $40 million. And Sam Darnold was not a $40 million quarterback, especially late in the season this past year.
He might get $50 million, though. He might. It's very possible.
It's just ridiculous
to think about
because, in the last 2 games, he had 11 sacks, 23 off-target throws, not to mention the interceptions that he had. It's an issue, but they won games, and he was productive this season. So maybe he's worth $50 million to some really rich owner.
Yeah. Or yeah, he's just I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, his inability to move the ball in those final 3-4 weeks.
And in the playoffs.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs. After having such a promising season, was a big disappointment to a lot of people in the league, especially viewers.
I don't think it's really surprising, though. Like, to me, and I don't think it's a bad thing either. Not every quarterback is going to be a quarterback that can lead a guy to a Super Bowl. There's going to be some quarterbacks who can have a really good season but don't make it in the playoffs, and that's fine. They're going to make a lot of money in this league. Ask Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Recent rumors have people like we said, a lot of GMs talk to each other at the combine. It's like kind of like a social hub for these guys at this point. A lot of people were hearing that the Vikings still want to keep Sam Darnold, and not even on a 1-year contract, but on maybe a 2 or 3 year contract. They want to keep him around. I thought that was very interesting. They got rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who they just drafted in the first round last season. So this is a very interesting
they should not
action.
They should not keep him around. They should keep JJ as the starter this year, in my opinion, and then sign a different veteran quarterback to be, a backup mentor. Because whenever you have a young quarterback, it's just always good to have that mentor guy. That's why we had Case Keenum this year. He was a big mentor for CJ, even though he wasn't that great this year. That mentor guy in the quarterback room is really important.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. There's going to be a lot of Sam Darnold talk about during this offseason, so if you're not up to the date, you need to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, Sam Darnold last year, if we said that going into the offseason, it would have been ridiculous. Just think about it for a minute, but that's just how the NFL works. You have guys that seem basically irrelevant, and Geno Smith is a great example. You get one job and get one opportunity, take advantage of it. You become a guy.
Exactly. One other thing that happened today, we got trade news. So the Rams eventually sent veteran offensive lineman Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears in exchange for a 2025 6th-round pick. When healthy, Jonah Jackson is a very solid guard in the NFL, except he's had a lot of injury concerns as of recent. You told me something that was interesting when we were driving up to the show about Jonah Jackson in the LA Rams.
Yeah, so this past year, he was hurt at the beginning. Like, he played the first 2 weeks, I believe. Then he got hurt, and that's whenever they have a lot of young offensive linemen on that team. Steve Avila is a rookie offensive lineman, slid right into his place at guard, and it's not that the offensive line was better. It's just that in those 4 or 5 weeks that Jonah Jackson was hurt, they started to mesh. And whenever you get chemistry about the offensive line, we've said it, 3 or 4 times already on the show, it's important, and you don't want to lose that chemistry on the offensive line. It's just as important as quarterback and wide receiver chemistry, right? So Jonah Jackson, if they place him in, he might have been a better guard than Steve Avila, but the chemistry might not have been the same. So that's why Jonah Jackson was riding the bench this year. He's getting paid $17 million, which is a lot of money. But buddy, for a high risk, high reward kind of player, a 6th-round pick, I wish he was in Houston.
Yeah, no, this is a steal for Chicago, especially because this is a position, all of their O-line basically is a position of need. So great acquire from Chicago. Ryan Poles did his thing here.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised if Ben Johnson had a pretty big say in,
100%.
Hey, let's shore up that offensive line. I don't care if it's risky. I want a stud. And that's what he got. So,
Jonah Jackson going to be running routes next season?
Jeez, that from the guard?
Guard?
No, he's going to do a tackle over.
Oh.
Let him
like a boot? And then,
yeah,
pitch it back to him?
Ben Johnson is ridiculous. And, I'm excited for Caleb Williams, though, because him last season, there was a lot of potential. The offensive line started to collapse, and then I think in a very similar way to CJ, it kind of got to his mental. So if they can get solid protection for Caleb Williams, I think the potential is sky high.
Exactly. So that was quick news right there. Hope everybody got a good listen there and is a little bit up to date about the little minor things that are kind of happening in the NFL.
Yeah, that was quick.
That was fun, actually. I actually had a lot of fun right there.
Yeah, I felt like a little speed session.
We speed ran that session. But now here is just regular, quick, recent news. Not even really quick. This is going to be a lot of opinion-based stuff right here. So over the weekend, if you've been listening to the show, last week we talked a lot about, and not even last week, basically since we started the show, we've been talking a lot of Matthew Stafford because he was rumored to maybe not return to the LA Rams. His contract was very massive, and a lot of teams would love to have a guy like Matthew Stafford on their team, a veteran guy, a Super Bowl champion, usually a top 12, sometimes even 10 quarterback in the league.
And he's getting older, so maybe the Rams are looking to maybe kickstart a rebuild, trade him, get some pieces to work off of.
Yeah, and the LA Rams surprised a lot of viewers last season with how far they went into the playoffs. They played very, very good. So
I think a lot of that is Sean McVay. I think whenever you have a phenomenal head coach, you're going to win a lot of games. But also, they have just a really good team. Like, it's not just Matthew Stafford. They got Puka. They had Cooper Kupp, obviously, was hurt this past year. And Puka was hurt, too. They had Kyron Williams,
Jared Verse on the defense.
Kobe Turner.
Yep.
Byron Young.
They got some guys. They got guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes on that. It's a very young and exciting team, which is kind of scary because they were really under the radar last year.
Yeah. So, under recent development, Matthew Stafford is going to be staying with the LA Rams. We were talking about that, I think me and you agreed at the end of last episode. I was listening to it. We said that we would both like him to go to the Raiders. That's a very fun spot. But I think we only said that because we kind of already ruled out that he was going to return.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the obvious answer, that he's not going to stay there, because what is the Rams' incentive in giving him the opportunity to look around if you're not going to trade him? Because there's a lot of value there, and maybe you're messing up a relationship if you do let him seek that opportunity,
Yeah, so this was an enormous ripple effect in the NFL. Matthew Stafford restructuring his contract to stay there. I think he lowered it to around, was it 25 a year?
Yeah, it was around 40. Now it's dropped down to 25.
Yeah,
it's a pretty massive drop in his pay, but a lot of it gets restructured to a signing bonus, so he's getting paid like right now instead of getting paid at the end of the year, getting paid weekly. So that's just kind of the cap magic that a lot of these GMs got to do in the NFL. It also helps that the cap room, or the max cap, just jumped to $273 million. So obviously teams now have a lot more money to work with than they did last season. So that's part of it too.
Yeah, and I kind of like this for Matthew Stafford as a human being. He's getting older. Keep his family in L.A. I wouldn't want to see him moving around at such an old age, becoming a journeyman.
Yeah.
He's too good to do that. So this conversation also shifts the discussion on multiple other quarterbacks in the free agency. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, and Russell Wilson are going to be in conversations for teams that are like the Raiders or the Giants, or maybe even the Steelers and the Browns.
Yeah. The Giants were pretty much like the guys that were pursuing Matthew Stafford the heaviest. They're the ones that are hurting by this the most. They hired Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law to the coaching staff. All right? That's how invested they were. They offered him a $100 million contract plus. Like, he was going to get paid if he went to the Giants. However, he decided to stay. Joe Schoen is the Giants GM, is just rolling in his sheets right now. He's so upset. And I think he's going to get fired for this. He's going to pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers. I think the Giants are going to be the team that does it.
Oh, man.
Yep, I think it's going to happen.
Man, I didn't know the hot take segment was this early.
I think he's going to get fired.
That could happen.
He's like...
No. I think he could, and I think he should get fired. I think he should have got fired last season. He could have easily drafted... not easily could have drafted, but he could have had quarterbacks. He could have been made what seemed like common sense decisions for me and you, at least. Like, yeah,
it was his decision to stay with Daniel Jones for so long.
Yeah, I know. We know now as viewers that Brian Daboll hated Daniel Jones. We know that Brian Daboll loved Saquon. Joe Schoen was like, it's all right.
It's a running back.
And there's now Saquon news. Great news.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Insane news from Saquon. So, like, it seems like every decision this guy makes is terrible.
Yeah, Joe Schoen.
Malik Neighbors is a good receiver.
Yeah, that was his only saving grace right now. I feel like the reason he didn't get fired last year is because he drafted okay, and because Malik Neighbors is really good. There's like no reason for him to still be a GM in the NFL, but he makes good content. So I'm glad he's doing it.
Yeah.
And I really hope just for the memes of it all, right? For the Giants to get Aaron Rodgers would be super funny. Because, I want the whole career arc, him to go to the Vikings, to happen still.
I agree with you here that I think it is very likely that he goes to the Giants now. It's between the Giants and the Raiders for me. I do not see a Steelers, not reunion, but like acquisition of Aaron Rodgers. I don't really see it.
I don't think Mike Tomlin would want to deal with him.
I don't even think that. I think he's good with the big personalities. And I feel like Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers would actually get along very well. I see them. I'm picturing it in my brain. I think they would get along okay. Browns, definitely not. That is a lot of personality at that quarterback position. If he went to the Browns.
The Browns might have to relocate for some reason. Like, I don't know. I feel like he would cause the Browns to relocate.
That might not be a terrible idea. Maybe, some sort of change has to happen over there. But I think the Giants seems the most likely.
Yeah, I feel like Joe Schoen is just going to have to pull the trigger because I think he feels the pressure, and I think he knows that if he doesn't win this season, it's going to be a problem. He's going to get fired. And obviously he thinks a veteran quarterback is the way, so maybe now the best one is Aaron Rodgers.
Could be, or they're going to draft a guy if they can. If the Titans and I don't know, we'll see. Or maybe they get Aaron Rodgers and they draft a guy. Interesting stuff in New York.
Yeah, they have a lot of problems to figure out.
They got a lot of problems, but they got a lot of bright spots too. So they could be in a much worse situation. In other new news, last week we talked about Trey Smith got franchise tagged by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
And now another guy who has been franchise tagged for 2 years in a row. And we could have all seen this coming. I mean, I would have probably put $50 on it, a round of golf on it.
Yeah.
T. Higgins has gotten franchise tagged again by the Cincinnati Bengals. Not very surprising.
These guys are so cheap, bro. They should just pay him. They should just pay him. Who cares? Pay the man. If you really want him, because the whole statement from the team is we're doing this so he can negotiate a better long-term deal. Dog, if you want him, pay him. If you don't, stop giving him. He's literally going to be on average this season, the 11th highest paid receiver in the league. Fully guaranteed. What's the point of that? You could have negotiated a deal, gotten him paid for around the same, and it not be fully guaranteed. And you have him for more seasons, and it doesn't mess up the relationship. There's so many problems with this, dude. It does not make sense at any level for the Bengals to keep franchise tagging him.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a fully guaranteed contract, which is interesting. It adds a little bit more depth to it. I would like to see... I don't know. I think they're trying to win a Super Bowl with him on a franchise tag. I don't think it's likely that'll happen. Obviously they have the ability to do that. Don't think it'll happen. It's interesting, bro. It really is. I don't ever know what to think. What I thought last year was I thought they were going to be able to get the long-term deal done. Yeah. And now they've done it back-to-back years, and at this point, I'm expecting a third.
Look, there is the opportunity that he doesn't sign the franchise tag and that they just negotiate a better long-term deal. That's always still a possibility. It's just lame to me, bro. If he wants to get paid a certain amount and you're not willing to even get close to that, there's going to be a lot of friction in the negotiations, and that's going to spill over onto the field, whether they like it or not.
The only reason I feel like they had to make this move because, was it last season or 2 seasons ago, they paid Joe Burrow a ridiculous amount of money. But now it doesn't seem that bad because of the salary cap increase, and now they're also kind of due to pay Jamar Chase a ridiculous amount of money, and both of those guys that we just mentioned were OPOY candidates this past season. If I'm T. Higgins, I'm not that upset about this. I would sign it just because I'm now the 11th highest paid receiver in the league. Doesn't seem like a bad payday to me.
Yeah. So that's the ups and downs of it, right? It is definitely a phenomenal payday, fully guaranteed for T. Higgins. To get $26 million, that's an amazing contract, right? But the security that a long-term deal gives you versus just this one-year deal where I could get hurt and then I don't have any security after that. And, let's say, God forbid, he has a really bad injury and he can't play anymore. He only has this 1 year of payment, and then after that it's done. Right? It's still $26 million. It's still a great payday. But that extra security that a long-term deal gives you is it's important for these guys.
100%. There's not much to say about this one. It's just happen. We kind of have to see if he's going to sign it. If he signs it, hopefully they get a deal done, or he gets shipped off and becomes a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he could be a wide receiver 1 on most teams, and he's arguably a top 5 wide receiver 2 now, or has been.
I think he has been.
That's the talent he is. It's upsetting that he can't be wide receiver 1, but he's a top 5 wide receiver 2, and he's really good at his job.
I hate to say it, but I would love to see him on the Patriots in New England with Drake May.
Right? That'd be amazing,
Love
dude.
to see it.
That'd be amazing.
And they could draft Will Campbell at the 4th pick, right? They got the 4th pick?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, if they could get Will Campbell and T. Higgins in the same offseason, that's a W. It's a W, and they got, I think, that now the second highest cap space behind the Cowboys, who have the highest cap space ever, the highest free cap ever. I think it was $220 million when I checked earlier.
It's a lot of money, bro.
It's a lot of money that they're not going to do anything with.
Yeah, probably not. Jerry's got to improve the stadium more, bro.
Okay.
The weight room needs more windows.
I was going to say, yeah, they need to, what is it?
Put more cameras in there.
Yeah, more tourists.
Yeah.
Need to pay some more tour guys, yeah.
Yeah, the Cowboys are a weird operation, dude.
Very strange operation. Something that happened, what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago? I think it happened yesterday.
It was over the weekend, I think.
Over the weekend? Deebo Samuel traded to the Washington Commanders. The 49ers ended up sending Deebo to the Commanders for a 5th-round pick. Insane value that the Commanders were able to give up for such a good player in Deebo Samuel. However, Deebo Samuel is getting paid $17.5 million in 2025. There were some conversations with the Commanders and the Texans. There's I think the Commanders probably talked to a lot of different teams. The Texans were one of them. There was no details being sent out to social media. However, a trade with the Commanders and 49ers ended up falling through that included Jonathan Allen, which I don't understand why that fell through. It had to have been 49ers asking for too much or something like that, because if I'm 49ers and I get offered Jonathan Allen, I'm accepting. Yeah,
for sure. I think it was definitely, or there was just more pieces involved. Like it was Jonathan Allen for Deebo and something else, and maybe they just didn't. They felt like they were giving up too much. Whenever I heard that the Texans were interested, I was like expecting it to be more than a 5th-round pick, because I was also expecting the 49ers to kind of take on some of that salary cap. The fact that the Commanders are taking it all on and the 49ers aren't taking on all of it, that kind of makes it a little bit more sense for it being a 5th-round pick, especially because the Commanders can do that. They have Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal, and they have the second most cap in the league, right? Didn't you just say
that? The Patriots have the second most cap.
Yeah.
But I assume the Commanders
are up there. They're top 5 in cap. So they have a lot of money, and it makes sense that they're gonna trade for a dude like that and then take on that full cap. But whenever I heard it, I was like, the Texans shouldn't do that, because I was expecting a 3rd or a 4th, right? In my mind, I was like, if it's a 5th or a 6th, then I'm doing that deal, and I'll take Deebo to be a very good wide receiver 3, I guess, or 2, because, I mean, he's a slot. He should not be an outside guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a slot guy. Over
perfect
the weekend
for the Commanders, though.
Yeah, I think he's perfect. Alongside Terry, I mean, that's a great contrast. But I was going to say, because I had written something up in the script before, because I had to write it over the weekend. I wrote in here talking about how the Texans were thinking about trading for Deebo Samuel. I was saying I do not want us to do that. I feel like that's a lot of money. We don't even want to pay Stephon Diggs a similar contract to come back this season. And I don't think we would get that much different production from the both of them.
No, Diggs is definitely a better fit for Stephon or for CJ Stroud than.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, Deebo he's been getting hurt a lot. I mean, he has a lot of wear and tear on him because he's been playing that kind of wide back role. I don't know. I do like it for the Commanders. I think the Commander stock was already so high. I feel like it's kind of bumped them up. I've even seen some people say that they might be NFC East favorites.
No.
Because the Eagles have so many free agents right now. I mean, that's an interesting one.
No, I definitely still think it's the Eagles. It is close. Like, it is closer than it was, 3 weeks ago because of this trade. But Deebo is also, because of the scheme they run where it's so yak heavy, it's going to be a lot of screens and let the receivers go. It's going to be a lot of short passes and let the receivers go, and it's going to be a lot of passes to the backfield. That is where Deebo's going to that's where he's started his whole career, and with Jaden Daniels not throwing to him, it could be I wouldn't be surprised to see another Deebo like 2019 kind of year, 2020 kind of year.
That'd be cool. Another interesting thing to add to this was the fact that Adam Peters, who was formerly with the 49ers, is now the GM of the Commanders. I believe he was there when they drafted Deebo and kind of made the wide back role for him. So, I mean, this move makes sense. It also makes sense for the 49ers because they have so many large contracts like Nick Bosa, George Kittle, and they have to pay Brock Purdy very, very soon.
Yeah, I actually like the move for the 49ers. I think it was time that they got rid of Deebo because he was kind of a stopgap in their offense, in my opinion. They had Brandon Ayuk, who wasn't really sure if he should be the number 1 or the number 2 because Deebo was kind of getting more touches than him, but not a better receiver than him. So now Ayuk can be that number 1 guy. Ricky Pearsall is a really solid wide receiver, so him being that number 2. They got Jawan Jennings, who's a really great receiver, a phenomenal blocker. There's still a lot of potential for that 49ers offense. It's just upsetting that they were so injured this year. Like 6-11 is not the record of their real team. They were the talent on their roster is a lot better than 6-11.
I agree with you. It is 6:28 p.m. We're gonna hit our half hour. Half hour music break. Stay tuned. We're gonna have some more news whenever we get back. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio. I'm your host, Kaden Jones. I'm here with Coby Riendeau. Hope you guys like that music. We're gonna go back to the news that happened in the past week since the last show. So something that happened. Was it today, right? Something that happened before we got on air where the Jets released Davante Adams. A big move. A lot of people were speculating about Davante Adams already getting traded because his, I guess, co-partner, Aaron Rodgers, is no longer going to be in New York. I guess they couldn't find a recipient of Davante Adams' massive contract of $36.2 million.
The thing is, it's not guaranteed. Like, none of it's guaranteed. So the Jets, if they released him or if they traded him, they wouldn't have taken a penalty against the cap. And since they're cutting him, they're not taking any penalty. It's not like they're just saving $36 million that they would have had to pay this season. They're not getting any money for, like, they're not taking a penalty for cutting him.
Exactly. So he had a weird tenure with New York. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a bit strange.
It felt like he was forced there by Aaron Rodgers.
That's what it seemed like, too. I remember watching the video of him arriving in New York, and it was like, yeah, he had smiles on his face, but it wasn't his decision. And he's had an unfortunate career arc ever since he left Green Bay. I feel like he left Green Bay. He wanted more money, so he went to the Raiders with his college buddy at Fresno State, Derek Carr. They were at the time, I think it was Oakland, and then went to LV. And he had some good games there. It wasn't anything crazy. Then they shipped off Derek Carr, and he was there with Aiden O'Connell. And then he got shipped off to New York for a mediocre Aaron Rodgers. It's unfortunate because he's such a good receiver.
Yeah, those years where he was playing with Derek Carr, who wasn't at his peak, and he was playing with Aiden O'Connell, he was still a 1,000+ yard receiver. He was still a top 10 receiver in the game. It would have been a lot more interesting to watch him with a really great quarterback, but we never really got to see that after he left Aaron Rodgers. And then now he went back, and then Aaron Rodgers wasn't the same. He still had almost 1,000 yards, 854, 67 catches, 7 tuds in 11 games. That's still impressive. Like, he's still a viable, arguably wide receiver 1 in the NFL, definitely a high-end wide receiver 2. It's just, like you were just saying, unfortunate for his career arc because he was, arguably the best receiver in the game whenever he went to Oakland, went to the Raiders, and it's not the same anymore.
It's just, it's unfortunate. He would definitely be a wide receiver 1 on maybe even a Super Bowl contender. I believe, he still has that ability to be that guy, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. It's just that contract that he got paid is huge. He's getting paid almost Justin Jefferson type of numbers, top 10 in the NFL for in salary. I think I'll go look at it right now what number he is. He's getting paid number 8 in the NFL for the highest wide receiver salary. I don't think he's at that level anymore. He's getting a little bit up there in age. However, now that he's cut, he can get paid whatever he wants. Maybe he'll take this payday as to get a smaller contract from somebody that is a contender, go ring shopping maybe a little bit with a great team.
Yeah, whenever I saw this news, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I sat down and started looking into it. it would not, depending on the price tag, obviously, if we pay too much, it's not worth it. But the Texans and Davante Adams, him with Nico not needing to be the wide receiver one, of course, it's just, as a Texan fan, I'm going to bring up everybody as a possible Texan, obviously. But the fit with Davante Adams actually works. I feel like him and CJ have a good, like they would mesh well, not even just based on talent, but based on like personality and stuff like that. So I'm definitely interested now as a Texan fan in Davante Adams. It really just depends on the price tag, though.
If we could get Davante Adams for $15 million,
yeah,
I think it's unlikely, but if we could.
In my mind, I was saying like 17 or 18 is like where I'm comfortable at, because he's still, in my opinion, maybe even up to 20, right? Past that, I'm not really comfortable because we have other needs that go beyond Davante Adams, right? But $20 million for Davante Adams at this point in his career is a very good contract, and I feel like we just saw it. We need depth and veteran depth at receiver. Whenever that stuff goes away, it's not pretty.
Yeah, and he's always been somewhat durable as well. I think he played every game for the Jets that he was available. Like for when he was on the Jets, he played every game.
And he was hurt for a couple of games this season before he got traded, but it was just to make sure he didn't actually get hurt so he could get traded.
Yes.
Like they were just figuring out the trade talks.
Like it was a phantom hamstring injury.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like this move for, I think, both parties. I'm not going to lie. Maybe a fresh start for the New York Jets. Hopefully Garrett Wilson to the Texans is the next option for them. We'll see.
Hey, we're here for that now. We already talked about it.
Yeah. I
would love that.
I would love that too, but maybe we get Davante Adams. I would also, I think I would like that more if we get Davante Adams.
Yeah, it would probably be safer in my opinion, and it's like we know what we're getting. With Garrett Wilson, I feel like there's a potential that we could overpay for what we end up sending in that trade. With Davante, we're paying him whatever we pay him, and then we're done. I like that.
I like that too. Moving on to another guy that was on a new team this past season, Saquon Barkley finally agrees to the inevitable extension that he was going to get paid this offseason, a 2-year, $41.2 million extension. Huge extension. It's actually the most expensive running back of all time, the highest paid running back of all time, and deservingly so. I'm going to be honest with you. He had one of the greatest running back seasons of all time last year. This includes $36 million guaranteed, up to $15 million incentives.
Yeah, we were just talking about it with the Khalil Shakir contract. I brought it up. Like Khalil Shakir is getting $15 million a year. How much is Saquon getting paid last season? It was $13. This was a necessary extension and raise for his contract. The good thing is, right, this is on top of the 2 years he already had left on his deal still. So this really makes his deal a 4-year deal. And this money that they're adding is going to get spread out over all 4 years. So, again, it's Howie working his cat magic. This sounds like it's a really expensive contract, and it is. But over these next 4 years, it's going to get paid, and Saquon's going to be dominant for the next 4 years. And it's going to seem like a genius deal because they're still going to have a really good team around him, too.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, Saquon led the NFL in carries at 345 and rushing yards at 2,005 in 2024. Historical numbers, if I'm being honest with you. We haven't seen a running back do this in quite some time. I mean, well, not even quite some time. We see Derrick Henry do this not that long ago.
Derrick Henry is different, though. Derrick Henry does it in a different style. Normally, you'll see those dudes who, like Derrick Henry, just run through everybody, and that's how they get to 2K. AP was pretty much the same way whenever he got to 2K. CJ 2K, in my opinion, is the most similar style of getting 2,000 yards to Saquon. It was a lot of explosive, 70-plus yard rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
A lot of big plays that Derrick Henry obviously was making, but not as consistently as Saquon was.
And this extension poses a question for the running back market. If you've been keeping up with offseason in the NFL for recent years, you know that running backs are not valued at all. They might get hit with a franchise tag or like little penny contracts pretty much. And so,
yeah, especially for the value they provide. The addition of a good running back is a lot more valuable than having a mediocre running back to a versatile offense, especially if you have a coordinator and a quarterback who can take advantage of them.
Yeah, and so there's another guy in the NFL who had a good, if not great, season last year that actually elevated an offense to go to the AFC Championship. It was James Cook with the Buffalo Bills. He might be due for an extension here soon, and he was looking at this contract on Twitter saying, I forgot what he actually said verbatim, but
He said a great deal.
great deal.
Because he knows, like, whenever you have a market shifting deal like this, because before the max a running back was getting paid was around the Saquon Barkley $13 million a year deal. This on the surface is a $20 million a year deal for a running back. So that boosts the market automatically for running backs, because if I'm a running back and I see other running backs getting paid $20 million, I'm going to go to my agent. I'm going to be like, hey, agent, Saquon's got paid $20 million. If we go look at the stats, I'm not Saquon, but I'm pretty close. I should be getting paid pretty close money. That's how the market shifts with these kind of deals. That's why James Cook called it a great deal, because he knows after this he's going to be getting paid, a lot more than he would have if he had to sign his deal last year.
And it might even be a good thing for the Buffalo Bills, because I was watching some of the games last season, even during the playoffs and towards the end of the regular season, where it was going to be late in the third quarter, maybe even the whole fourth quarter. It seemed like James Cook wasn't even on the field, like they were not putting him there. And if they give him a big contract, maybe they put the guy out there. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they value him a little bit more in that offense.
Yeah, he should be should be a workhorse back. I don't know why he's not.
100%.
Dude. Like maybe that's a good reason as to not, because if it's not during the playoffs and you're not playing him in the fourth quarter, it's really not that big a deal. You're preserving him for later in the season when the games really matter a little bit more. But I mean, he is phenomenal, and he should be getting as many touches as dudes like Saquon and dudes like Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy. Like, he should be one of those dudes. He had 20-plus touchdowns this year. That doesn't happen by accident.
No, yeah. So I'm thinking $15 million for James Cook. Am I tripping there?
No, I was going to say 15, 16 at the minimum. Because if he sees, obviously, when you get into the details about it, it's not 2 years, $20 million each year. But that's what it is on paper. And that's what that's the new high for running backs. So if you're not Saquon, you're not going to get that high, but you're going to get really close.
Yeah. Another guy, another contract talk. So Cowboys restructure CD Lamb's contract to free up $20 million in cap space. And I brought it up earlier when we were talking about the Patriots, and I was thinking that T. Higgins would be a good landing spot, or the Patriots would be a good landing spot for T. Higgins. The Cowboys have now just set a record in cap space. I think they're at up to $221 million in cap space. Insane amount of stuff here. So the question is, CD's original contract was 4 years, $136 million, which I think was top 3 in the NFL for wide receivers behind Justin Jefferson. And one other person, give me 1 sec. Oh, no, he was number 2 behind Justin Jefferson in contracts. This frees up $20 million in 2025, deferring some of this cap space to future years. So a little bit of that cap space magic that you love. I think this is a strategic move. However, what is Jerry Jones planning? I heard another rumor saying that he wasn't going to re-sign any of the free agents that he has upcoming this season. He said that he's out on all of them. I'm so serious.
So if Jerry Jones has to rebuild an entire roster this offseason, that would be so, like, I wish they were on Hard Knocks, bro. That would be the most entertaining guy to watch this whole offseason. And the thing about the Cowboys is they'll make most of it available to be known. Like, they're going to advertise who they're going after, I think. They're going to make it known, we did not like this guy. He was a bum. We like this guy. He looked really good. Like, that's going to be a lot of Jerry Jones this offseason, because we know it's not Brian Schottenheimer who's calling the shots over there.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be Jerry Jones. And there's going to be a lot of content coming out of Dallas this year.
They could have also did this move. I mean, I agree with you. I would love to see like a quick look, not even a quick look, very in-depth and personal look of what's going on in the Cowboys, I guess, front office. This could have also happened because they're gearing up to pay Micah Parsons a buttload of money this offseason. A huge contract that's probably making him the highest paid edge ever.
Yeah, I am so, like, confused about Micah Parsons because, like, if you ask him, he wants to be a Cowboy forever, and he loves the Cowboys. With his actions, it seems like he not despises, but he's so much more interested in other teams that aren't the Cowboys. Maybe that's because he's a Cowboy and he doesn't need to be interested in them. But, he just talks a lot about other teams, about other players, and he doesn't really seem to talk that much about his own team. But maybe that's just part of the game,
Yeah, I think that's a part of the game. I feel like that happens very often, especially like when you see a guy on Instagram and Twitter, they'll black out their whole page in like preparation for a contract talk. That might be what it is, but he's been doing that since like his rookie year. So I think that might just be his personality, but I have been seeing what you're saying.
No, I think Micah Parsons, he is definitely worth getting paid. And that's kind of the thing. Whenever he's not the best edge rusher in the league, he's not Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, but he's on that level and he's going to get paid more than them because the cap size is getting bigger. So he's going to get paid a lot of money. He's going to reset the market again. And maybe it'll be an overpay, but I don't think so. He's a phenomenal player. Saving this money for him. Even if they don't go through this whole cap space because they want to save money next year for Micah, that's a good deal too.
Yeah. The Cowboys also did another contract extension. They restructured CeeDee Lamb, but they extended Osa Odighizuwa.
Odighizuwa.
It's a hard name to pronounce. Signed a 4-year, $80 million extension with Dallas. He was one of their key pieces on defense last year, even though they started the season really bad on that interior D-line. But he's a great pass rusher, 60 quarterback pressures in 2024, second most in the league at the D-tackle position, and he outperformed Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter in both pressures and pressure rates in 2024.
Yeah, Osa Odighizuwa is super underrated and like unknown by a lot of like casual NFL fans. He's not on the level of like Chris Jones or even like Dexter Lawrence, obviously, but he is a really, really good interior player. We just saw at the Super Bowl how important interior pressure is, with Milton Williams securing himself a big payday this offseason. So I actually like this extension and the price for Osa Odighizuwa. It's hard to find interior pass rushers, and he's one of the best in the league at it. So if you can get him at $20 million a year, and it's probably, if I had to guess, closer to like 15 a year guaranteed, that's a great deal.
Yeah, I think this is a good deal too. I mean, 4 years, $80 million in this cap space is not that bad. We're getting such larger and larger contracts. They're kind of like, if we were to tell us that 4 years, $80 million in 2012, I mean, it's 13 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, like the contract is or the cap space is growing so much and so exponentially that it's really hard to fathom the percentages of like how much is this contract this season really taking up in the whole cap, because if you don't have all the numbers in front of you, it can get really easy to forget, to lose percentages. That's why we're not GMs, buddy. They got like 10 accountants each just to make sure all their books are right.
Yeah. And I actually just found out that I've been misspeaking this whole time because the Dallas Cowboys have even more cap space than I was saying. So they actually have a record $279.2 million cap space.
Yeah, 220 was already ridiculous. 279 is way up there. Yeah. Oh, that's just the record cap, bro.
Oh, that's the record cap. Oh, so they are at $221 million. My fault.
Yeah. So 279 is the max cap for every team, which is a record this year. They're at $221 million, which is still a ridiculous amount of money. That's a lot of money to go around for an NFL team, and which seems ridiculous to me because they have Dak still under contract. They have CD still under contract.
But who else?
That's a good point, man. They don't.
You know
really
what I mean?
got
I mean, they got Trayvon Diggs, but like he's not getting paid that big of money.
And it's a lot of rookies.
It's a lot of rookies. There's a lot of unknown guys.
A lot of guys on rookie deals.
Yeah,
better way to say it.
I don't think Brandon Cooks is under contract anymore. It's interesting.
Yeah. What are they gonna do, man? They also don't even have a good coach. Like they are not set up for the future.
Yeah, like it seemed like if there's a year where you're gonna like it's obvious that they're gonna start a rebuild, right? Like we can agree on that. If you're gonna start a rebuild, like what's one of the core pieces that you need along with a quarterback and maybe like a single defensive player is a great head coach. And they missed out on that opportunity and hired Brian Schottenheimer, who's not good, and who I'm not looking forward to seeing and hearing about because he's going to be the Dallas Cowboys scapegoat this upcoming season. I'm so confused by all these moves, and you agree with me.
Yeah, I don't know why. There were a lot more interesting. They could have hired Josh McCown.
Anybody.
Josh McCown has more juice. He has more energy. He has more potential as a head coach than Brian Schottenheimer. We know what we're getting, and it's not good. It's like very average to below average head coaching, and that's what Dallas signed themselves up for this year.
Maybe, and I actually kind of hope we're wrong, because I've been telling everybody that Brian Schottenheimer is not going to be a good head coach, and I hope I'm wrong, because I actually feel bad for, not belittling him, but, tearing him down so much that I kind of want him to prove me wrong and prove why he got this job.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening at all. And
like normally with coaches and teams, I can see, okay, here's their way to being good. This is how they're going to be a really physical team. They're going to win on defense. They're going to be a really flashy, explosive team. They're going to win on offense and with the skill guys. I don't see a path to winning for the Dallas Cowboys right now with the current, build of the team. Maybe this offseason they do a lot of ridiculous things and build a lot of build a team culture and a team identity. They're literally nobody right now.
Yeah, so there goes our weekly Dallas Cowboys rant right there. It is 6:54 p.m. We're gonna hit a quick. I think we'll do our hour long or our 7 p.m. music break right here. We'll be back in around 5-10 minutes. Stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about the Combine when we get back. We have a lot of things to say. It was a very, very eventful weekend. We're going to check for any news updates while we're on break as well. So I hope everybody's having a fantastic night, and stay tuned for Hour 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio, Hour 2 of Battle Red Radio. Let me know if you guys are enjoying the show so far. We just did a long news segment for the first hour. We're going to hop into the Combine recap. Make sure to follow us on UHD or on Instagram at UHDI Radio if you want to hear any updates about any of the future shows. Because we did an overview on the defensive linemen and linebackers last show on Thursday, we will primarily focus on the highlight players from Friday and Saturday, which were a lot of the skill positions and linemen, offensive linemen. So there was a lot that went down. On day 2, it was defensive backs and safeties and tight ends. A lot of big speed here. I kind of want you to start because you have a lot to say about this safety from South Carolina.
Yeah, so I'll say a man, straight all caps man, by the name of Nick Amonwori, weighing in over 200 pounds. Very Cam Chancellor-esque build, right? He was, and that's the way he plays too. He's a very hard-hitting, rangy safety out of South Carolina. He can also play in the box, like that Cam Chancellor kind of build, right? 200 pounds, 43-inch vertical, just insane. 11-foot, 6-inch broad jump, just insane. Those are like freak numbers, and that's not even the best part. He ran a 4.38 40-yard dash. He reached a top speed of 23.5 miles per hour, one of the highest among any of the players at the Combine in terms of top speed. There's actually one player who did have the top speed, which we'll get to later. And it's insane. I'm saving it. There's a lot of suspense there because it's insane who did it, okay? But Nick Amonwori, we talked about it last episode with the relative athletic score, which is a way to combine your weight and your physical traits with your speed and your jumping and your athletic traits to give you a number of how athletic you are compared to all of the previous Combine participants. Nick Amonwori was a perfect 10.0. First, the best athlete ever at the safety position in the NFL Combine, better than guys like Ed Reed, better than guys like Sean Taylor, better than guys like Cam Chancellor, better than guys
Charles Woodson,
Troy Polamalu, like this
Hall of Famers.
Yes, this was an all-time performance at the Combine, and he was kind of a fringe, like maybe this guy's gonna sneak his way into the first round. He just secured himself a lot more money at this Combine by this performance. He's going to almost guaranteed be a first-round pick now. I'd be more surprised if he wasn't than if he was. And he had 4 interceptions last year, 2 pick sixes, just to cap it all off. Like, on top of the crazy athletic day that he had at the Combine, he is also one of just the best talent-wise safeties in this draft class.
Yeah, so I was looking at some of his stats from college. He ended up having 4 interceptions, and 2 of those were brought back for pick sixes, which brings up that kind of point that you made with the amount of range that he really has. No forced fumbles, but he was a hard hitter in the secondary. And while he was at the Combine, he ended up going on 3 different visits. One of them was to the top 5 pick in the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next one to the Seattle Seahawks, and then lastly to the Buffalo Bills. So I'm kind of surprised he only had a few interest, I guess, with the NFL teams, but I bet that will not stay like that for very long.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more like top 30 visits start to happen between now and the South Carolina Pro Day. And I would not be surprised to see 25 out of the 32 NFL GMs or scouts at the South Carolina Pro Day for a lot of reasons, not just for Nick Amon-Worry, but definitely he's going to be the main attraction there.
I agree with you. And, man, he's going to be a guy people are going to drool over, I feel like, to get him in the draft. Maybe somebody trades up to even get him. It seems like he has a lot of talent, especially on that South Carolina defense that was so good in the SEC in the past season.
Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of dude that a very high-end GM is going to see that he's available around like pick 18 or 17 or something like that, and you'll see a team, that's in the 20s to 30s move up and draft him because he's that good of a player. He's that impactful of a player. And safeties, especially in the modern day, are the guys that can be rangy, that can play in the box and play deep. The guys that are versatile, like Kyle Hamilton, for example, they basically play two positions at once. So they're really important, and that's why I could see him getting drafted pretty early.
Yeah, you said that he was going to get drafted around like that 15 to 20-ish area. There's a team that was on his visits list that actually is going to draft in that bit of range. And it's the Seattle Seahawks. And I think that would be interesting, noting that your pro comp seems to be for him like the Cam Chancellor type of guy. That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good fit because Mike McDonald is also a great defensive coach. He would get him flying around the field, bro.
Yeah, and they don't have a bad secondary either.
Yeah, they don't, but they also don't have a great secondary. So there's definitely room to improve there. And Amon-Worry is like one of those guys you could draft and plug and play, and he'll be like, there's a potential for him to be a Pro Bowler this year. I was gonna say All Pro, but he's not gonna be that good. Yeah. But there's a potential for him to be like a real Pro Bowl type player this year.
Yeah, so defensive rookie of the year candidate, maybe. I mean, we saw two secondary players get it this past season. Maybe he could be one that could be a candidate for the next season. However, I think
normally safeties are it's hard to get into that top defensive player of the year argument unless you're having a lot of turnovers. But it's going to be one of the pass rushers. It'll be Abdul Carter or
Mason Graham, maybe.
Yeah, it could be an interior guy with Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant, but I think it'll be like Abdul Carter is definitely the safe bet. Yeah. Could be Travis Hunter too.
Could be. We're going to move on to the next DB. We only have 2 for the spotlight right now, even though they did perform very athletically at the Combine. Put up a lot of impressive numbers, but this guy had the most impressive one, and the 40-yard dash is something that catches a lot of people's eyes in social media. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky, had the fastest 40-yard dash in the Combine at a 4.29. He had a top speed at 24.25 miles per hour, ranking among the top 5 speeds in recent Combine history. Despite missing much of the 2024 season due to injury, his performance pushes him up draft boards.
He also had a pretty explosive day jumping-wise. Had a 10-foot, 9-inch broad jump. Had a 39.5-inch vertical. He's definitely more of like that slot corner kind of build where he's not going to be a jamming dude on the outside. If he is on the outside, it's going to be an off coverage. You're going to let him play that cover 3, get back and run kind of zone coverage because he has that kind of speed. He's also not very long or very lanky, so like it's not like he's going to be locked up in man coverage. That's why I like him as a slot. With that speed, you can send him off the edge. There's a lot of potential there, obviously, with Maxwell Harrison. It just depends on what defense he gets into. You got to find a defense that knows and uses the slot corner well.
Yeah, and he's not like usually with these faster guys, I feel like when I first saw this, I figured he was gonna be like a 5'9", 5'10" kind of cornerback. He's a 6'1" guy, 185 pounds. Not terribly small.
Yeah, he's not small. He's just not super lengthy like you would expect. Like Will Johnson, he's got a lot of length. He's not super fast like Maxwell Hairston, but he's got a lot of length. So there's definitely two different niches of cornerbacks. But Maxwell Hairston, he kind of reminds me of Kyle Hamilton with more speed. He's not going to be as physical. He's definitely, but like that slot corner role, it's a really good fit for him.
Okay.
Jalen Petrie this past year, whenever he was actually playing the slot, again, a little bit more physical than Maxwell Hairston, but that kind of speed off the edge, bro, I feel like Petrie was flying around this year.
He was.
And Hairston could be that kind of player.
Okay. Would you give like a first-round grade on Maxwell Hairston?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think so either.
I'd say he's a pretty solid second-round corner, and, there's a lot of money to be made there. A lot of dudes make their whole careers out of being second-round corners, right?
Yeah, no, second round is where usually the Texans make their money, the second, third round area. So
yeah, for some reason, we don't really thrive in the first round unless it's way up there.
Yeah, like number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, literally the ones up there. Tight ends, well, the DBs were phenomenal. Honestly, like almost all of them had great days. Tight ends definitely not as great of a day overall. There was a lot of high expectations going in, I would say. Dudes like Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor actually performed pretty well at the combine. Harold Fannin Jr., he was expected to, be a freak athlete, and he looked kind of mediocre out there. It was just an upsetting day overall for the tight ends.
Yeah, it's just there was a lot of disappointments, and there was a lot of. I think it's because none of the big names really showed up to the combine. So like there was no Tyler Warren, there was minimal.
No Colston Loveland.
Yeah, no Colston Loveland. I mean, Gunnar Helm got injured during his 40-yard dash, which was a guy that I was looking forward to seeing at the combine. He didn't really get to work out his truest potential, but we'll see his real potential at the pro day for Texas.
Yeah,
it's just unfortunate.
Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, they were the two dudes who kind of had the best days. They didn't really show out or anything, but they kind of proved that they would be consistent overall tight ends at the floor pretty much. Gunnar Helm is probably the biggest disappointment, but it's not that he there's obviously the fact that he rolled his ankle and sprained his ankle on his first 40-yard dash attempt, and it didn't even count. It was one that got called back, and as he was stopping and slowing up, he rolled his ankle and went through the whole rest of the combine with it, ran his 40, ran his second 40, and then did all the on-the-field drills, got home and saw his ankle looked like it looked disgusting.
Yeah, it looked like it kind of matched the girth of his thigh almost. It looked like it was.
There wasn't
extreme.
really an ankle there. It was a long calf down to the foot.
Yeah,
it was, and there was a lot of. It's gross. We don't need to describe.
It was very explicit image.
But it is upsetting that happened because he was, and he in my opinion had the most to gain out of a really great day. Right, him and Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin. It was upsetting. Did you watch his attempt at the block at the sled push?
No, I did not.
So there's a sled that all these tight ends have to. It's one of the skills you have to go through just to show that you can be powerful off the line and you can move somebody if you're asked to do it, as a tight end often is. And it's not an easy drill because the sled is very heavy. You got to get under it. You got to have good leverage to get the sled up and then push it back. Harold Fannin pushed it sideways. It turned 90 degrees on him. He didn't push it back at all. If anything, it pushed him back. And that was really the biggest question going into this thing about Harold Fannin's game is can he be a dude who can be a mauler, right? We all know he's a great athlete. Can he be a great blocker? Obviously not.
Yeah. Well, that might be a technique thing. So, I remember when we used to hit the pads in high school, it was all a technique thing, getting your arms out and straight and keeping them level.
Yeah, it's a technique thing that
he does not have.
Yeah, that an NFL tight end prospect should have.
Exactly. I hear what you're saying.
And the thing is, if you're going to be like that, you better be a freak athlete at tight end. He ran a 4.7 140, very mediocre. The fastest was 4.63 from Terrence Ferguson. That's a dude who actually showed he could, be an athlete at the NFL level. Harold Fannin really didn't. Which is upsetting, bro.
It is upsetting. He had such a great season last year.
And yeah, he was uber dominant. He probably should have won the John Mackey Award last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, he definitely. This is a guy. This is one of the biggest losers from the NFL Combine, 100%. His draft stock was kind of rising a little bit because his tight end class is very heavy right now. Like, it's very stacked. But I mean, he's one of those guys that is starting to trend down because of this. Hopefully, he has a good pro day.
Yeah, he only had 2 visits at the Combine. They were Tampa Bay Buccaneers, San Francisco 49ers. There is, honestly, in my opinion, if he goes to the 49ers, there's potential there. If he goes to the Bucs, there's potential there. They're both really good at taking kind of average to, in some ways below average tight ends and making them really good. And then it really helps whenever you have George Kittle there to boost all your average tight ends because he's there training them every day, right? I would love for him to go to San Francisco. I don't know as much about Tampa Bay. It'd be fun to watch him play with Bake, but
I mean,
not as necessarily as great of a fit.
Yeah, we'll have to stay in touch about Harold Fannin. Hopefully he has a good rest of his offseason because that would be fun to see him in the NFL, like actually playing good. So that was day 2 of the NFL Combine. We're going to move on to day 3, which was the wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks. So this is the biggest day. I think this one ran from 11 to 9 p.m. or something crazy like that. Like, this was the longest day.
Yeah, normally they have the Combine go from about noon to 7. It's starting to become more of an extravaganza where they'll have a lot of like pre-Combine talk and they'll have a lot of post-Combine talk. So the real broadcast, like you were saying, was about 12 hours, 10 hours, something like that. It's just insane, bro. Nobody's watching that. The whole thing. People are going to tune in for the players that they like or the positions that they like or the drills that they like, and then they're going to go.
Yeah, especially because it's on NFL Plus.
So, yeah, like it's not even. I have ESPN Plus. I can't watch it on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, it's NFL Network only. So
it's dumb, dude.
I don't know, but we still see the clips and stuff like that on Twitter. So
yeah, it's basically like they're not even. There's no point in putting it behind a paywall because as soon as it happens, it's gonna get posted to whatever social media. It's pointless. Yeah, I don't know why they do it.
So some of the receivers that really showed out, and a lot of them did show out a lot. Very well. So a lot of people ran good times and caught some good passes. I mean, there's not much to say about these receivers. A lot of them did show out, like I said.
The thing is, we didn't, again, like the thing with the quarterbacks, we talked about it last time, like Shadur and Cam, they didn't want to show up because they didn't have anything to prove. Similar situation for Tedero McMillan. He didn't really have anything to prove. Similar situation for Emeka Egbuka. He didn't really have anything to prove. Those are 2 dudes who are not here. Quarterbacks who did have something to prove, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, we'll get to them all in a minute. But the receivers who did have something to prove, guys like Matthew Golden, Deontay Thornton, Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn. I'm actually a big fan of him. He's very under the radar right now. He's probably like my, if I had to pick one, like sleeper guy. Isaiah Bond, Jalen Noel, all of them had stuff to prove, and they went out and they proved that they could do it. Matthew Golden was the guy who really showed out, though.
Yeah, Matthew Golden was some of the people's favorites from the Combine. He ran his way into being a top 3 wide receiver selected with his 4.29 40-yard dash, which was the fastest among all of these wide receivers. He showed a little bit. He showed flashes of this when he was at Texas alongside Isaiah Bond, who's also in this draft class. And I know you liked him, and I like him as maybe a Texans player soon.
Yeah, Matthew Golden, if you were watching the Texas games at the end of the season, at the beginning of the season, it was definitely more Isaiah Bond heavy. At the end of the season, Matthew Golden, when they needed a dude to just go get a first down or go get a deep ball, they were going to Matthew Golden, and it was working a lot. Whenever Quinn Ewers was succeeding, it was because he was going to Matthew Golden. And I think most of that was because of Matthew Golden. Not necessarily Quinn Ewers. I used to be so high on Quinn Ewers, and then he just man, he's embarrassing.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers is embarrassing.
But Matthew Golden, he really, it was my top 3 pretty much for receivers. We got Tet, we got Emeka, and then Luther Burden was arguably up there. Matthew Golden ran his way in. Luther Burden ran his way out. You want to talk about a guy that had some stuff to lose? Luther Burden, according to the ESPN and the NFL mock drafts that came out today, is not projected to be a first-round pick.
Which is insane because we did our spotlight, what seems like, way too early.
Yeah. Going into the draft, like the way too early draft mocks at the beginning of the college football season last year, he was like the dude with Tedero McMillan at wide receiver. Now he might not even get picked in the first round. That shows you just how big of a drop-off these kind of college 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds can have in one season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know the reason why that he would be like that. Is it because he had, like, drop concerns early on in his college career? Maybe. Is it because he's a little bit undersized? Maybe. It's just certain questions that we might not find out until we get closer to the draft. Could it be a little bit of gaming it? I don't think so.
I feel like he's not really special at any part of the being a wide receiver. He's really good at getting separation. He's not great at it. He's really good at getting off the line. He's not great at it. He's really good he might be great after the catch. That might be the one part of his game that he really is great. But it might put him in a similar situation to Deebo Samuel. And Deebo needs to be in a system that can really use those skills well. So not every team can do that, and maybe that's why he's starting to fall down some teams' boards.
Yeah, maybe teams are looking at him as not like a wide receiver 1 or like a wide receiver 2 complementary piece. They're looking at him as like a wide receiver 3 kind of guy, which is nothing wrong with that because I think he would develop into something greater, but maybe wide receiver 3 is just where he's at right now.
Yeah, I feel like that is probably where I would have him at on most teams. Like Tedero McMillan is definitely, and Emeka Egbuka in some cases, is good enough to be a wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2. I don't think Luther Burden is. I think Matthew Golden is better than Luther Burden right now for the NFL.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, we saw it last year with Xavier Worthy, one of his teammates as well. I mean, they love the speedy receivers in Texas. Xavier Worthy was a good contributing factor on a Super Bowl contender, like a team that made the Super Bowl and the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
yeah, shout out Sark for what he's doing at Texas. He's getting them boys moving. I don't know what he's doing to them in the offseason, but he is creating some speed demons, dude.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people thought Isaiah Bond was going to break the record. He even stated it. He was like, I'm going to break Xavier Worthy's record. Kind of disappointed us a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. But
whenever you say that and then you run like a 4.41 or whatever, it makes 4.41 feel slow.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. But Matthew Golden ran a 4.29. That's the dude who actually should have been talking all that mess.
Yeah, so Matthew Golden is up there. A lot of people are speculating. I'll go ahead and tell you who he went on visits with, actually. So Matthew Golden went on a visit with the Browns, Patriots, Bengals, Steelers, Cowboys. So the Cowboys might have a chance here alongside CeeDee Lamb, Packers, Buccaneers, Cardinals, and Rams. The Packers love a young wide receiver core. For some reason, they need a veteran. I'm telling you, they need a veteran.
There were rumors about them possibly trading for DK Metcalf, offering like Dontavian Wicks and their first-round pick this year and some other stuff. But
that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot for DK, and they said they wanted more. Dontavian, a first, and then something else. Yeah. That's what the Seahawks wanted for DK.
No, I heard about those rumors too. I just didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, they're offering a lot for DK, and because, man, this is gonna upset the Packers receiving core. They're upset about it, right? But they feel, other people, us included, feel like they need a vet wide receiver 1. They don't. They think they got that already with not a vet.
Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks both think they're wide receiver 1s.
They're not. Yeah, I mean, they need a good wide receiver 1. Jordan Love is just maybe he can. We've all watched Jordan Love games. He's a really good quarterback. He just has more of the Brett Favre in him than he has the Aaron Rodgers in him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like it's the more of the risk making. Like, because when the Texans played him earlier this season, I'm gonna be honest with you, we should have got blown out that game. Jordan Love himself kept us in that game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like he does that to his team sometimes. Maybe if he has the wide receiver 1 to kind of put him in check. I don't see it happening, but imagine if they had Davante Adams on that team again. That might be a top 5 offense.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a fun pairing. Guarantee top 5 offense right there. So
another receiver who showed out, Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. He is kind of in the same mold as Matthew Golden. He is a super freak athlete, 4.39 40-yard dash, 41.5-inch vert. Tied for second among all receivers, 11-foot 2-inch broad jump, longest among all receivers. That was really just a showcase of his athletic ability that he shows every week on the film. Like, he is a dude who's going to go up and get it if he needs to, but he's also just a straight burner. If there are multiple clips this year that are some of my favorite balls from all of the college football season because of Rocco Beck throwing him from Iowa State. But Jalen Noel was a big reason why the Cyclones were pretty good this year on offense. And he, like I was saying, it fits a mold really similar to Matthew Golden, right? He could be a pretty solid speed receiver, wide receiver 2 for a lot of teams. He's a dude who's really also going under the radar right now.
Yeah, so I was going to say, because I mean, I watched a lot of Jalen Noel at Iowa State, but I meant to say I watched a lot of Iowa State this past college football season, but my eye wasn't really drawn towards Jalen Noel. I'm not really too sure why. So this is the first time I'm really trying to pay attention to him, and I know you enjoy him a lot more than I do.
He visited the Texans.
He did.
As a Texans fan, if we get Jalen Noel in the second round, I would love that. That is because we've been kind of iffy about John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson. I feel like there wouldn't be any need to be iffy about Jalen Noel.
Okay. I'm going to trust your stance on this. I'm not going to lie to you.
Look, surprisingly, receivers are like, I feel, the one area that I don't get right at all. I feel like I'm more right about quarterbacks than I am about receivers.
And I feel the same way that you do. I'm not going to lie. I love a lot of these receivers coming in that are big-bodied and quick and speedy guys. Like, I feel like everybody loved John Ross back in the day, and everybody loved Kelvin Benjamin when he got drafted. And I bring him up so often because Kevin White disappeared off the planet Earth.
Yeah.
I think he was drafted like 5th.
Yeah,
by the Bears. Yeah. It's just it's tough. And hopefully Marvin Harrison Jr. does not become that. I don't think he will, but he had a little bit of a soft first season. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, receivers are really difficult because everybody looks so good against college cornerbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you make that transition to the NFL, it's a completely different chess match that you're playing around. So that's why the transition is so hard.
It could Big 12 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
that could be what it is also. Yeah. Something that I was looking forward to as well. I mean, receivers are always going to put on a show, no matter the combine year. Running backs kind of do the same thing. A lot of them put up big numbers. One of the spotlights that we had was Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State. So they actually have Ohio State actually has 2 running backs coming into this draft. They got Quinshon Judkins and Trayvon Henderson. Both of them very, very solid backs. Both of them also on the same team rushed for 1,000 yards last season.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that they were on the same team, they were taking carries off of one another, they were taking hits off of one another. That's really important. Whenever you start to reach a certain threshold of carries, you start to see a heavy decline in running back production, unless you're Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is different.
We'd have to say that about every running back stat.
Yeah,
ever.
Derrick Henry is just different. But the fact that they were able to split those hits amongst one another is good, right? It made sure neither of them got really injured or torn down this whole season. Quinshon Judkins, man, the running backs are very deep and very talented in this draft class. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty is the number 1. Omarion Hampton is a very surprisingly close number 2 in some eyes. In some teams' eyes, Omarion Hampton is better.
I think your eyes.
No, not in my eyes. I think Ashton Jeanty is a lot better. But literally, Omarion Hampton is better in some people's eyes. Or maybe he's just higher on their board because it's more likely that they get Omarion Hampton than Ashton Jeanty. But Quinshon Judkins really secured himself a top 5 running back spot in this draft class. Came in at over 200 pounds, weighing at 221. It's a big back.
No, so when you watch Quinshon Judkins, you look at him and you don't expect this kind of size. I'm going to be honest, I thought he was probably going to be closer to that 200-pound range than a 221 back. And it kind of seemed that way with a lot of these running backs in this class. I was sending you clips of the combine, and I'm like, wow, this guy weighs nearly 230. This guy weighs 225. And I'm like, they did not play like that in college. Whether they put on weight for the combine, I don't know. And it didn't really matter because he had a 4.48.
Yeah, Quinshon, like you just said, ran that 4.48 40. One of the best times compared to your weight in the whole draft class. 38.5-inch vert, 11-foot broad jump, around the 9.5 relative athletic score. I don't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but that is a phenomenal performance at the combine. another dude that I wish performed at the combine who didn't, Dylan Sampson. He would have ran like a 4.25. He's a speed demon out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that pro day. That's going to be a lot of fun because there's just a lot of dudes. Dante Thornton is another one. They got James Pierce. That's just fun to watch because James Pierce is such a problem, apparently.
I didn't even realize that. I don't know why. Dylan Sampson kind of slipped my mind.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson didn't run at the combine. He had some interviews, obviously, but I wish he was there. A dude who did perform in the same kind of vein as Travion Henderson. He's a dude who is not as heavy, but he has a lot more game-breaking speed. He showed that off at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that screen against Texas in the Natty semifinal for proof.
Where he didn't even reach top speed.
Yeah, he was jogging that whole time, dude.
It's
ran a 4.4340. Not even Jaden Blue is another guy. Showed out at the combine at 4.3840. Some of these, like, this is a very, very deep running back class. I just ran through like 6 of them. One of them who wasn't even at the combine. This running back class, if you're a running back needy team, is the best year to be one of those guys.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it because we're one of those kind of fringe running back needy teams. We really need a good RB2. Dameon Pierce is good, but we used a lot of Dare last season. And maybe we got to move away from that, get that third guy in there.
Yeah,
and this would be great.
I also, you got to remember Dameon Pierce is going to be coming up on a contract extension soon. And
we're not doing it.
Yeah, we're not going to be paying him any, like, I wouldn't. So hopefully he goes somewhere else and gets paid and goes off and goes beast mode because I want him to be that rookie Dameon Pierce again. That was so fun to watch.
So fun. I think, yeah, and I love him too, and I think he can be that guy again for sure. I mean, he showed it. He shows it every time he catches a kickoff return. So, I mean, I just don't think it's with us. Unfortunately, we are moving into like a different scheme, and he just doesn't fit that.
And I will say if we can get a guy to be behind Joe Mixon for a year, let Joe Mixon be the hoss for another year, and then let's say it's Travion Henderson, who was a teammate of C.J. Stroud. That would be a phenomenal pairing, in my opinion.
Phenomenal. All right, let's move on to the big dogs. Not actually, because these are not the O-linemen, but it's going to be the quarterbacks. These are the money makers right here. We've been talking about quarterbacks a lot. In last episode, we even talked about quarterbacks a lot, even though they weren't performing on Thursday's combine. So we were talking about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward weren't going to be at the combine. So this is Jackson Dart's big day. And Jackson Dart did nothing but show out. He did everything that we wanted him to do to become the definite third guy and to close the gap between him and Shedeur. And some people even say, just because of character issues with Shedeur, that Jackson Dart might be better than him. And he's the QB2. Dart had some of the cleanest throwing sessions. He threw the deep ball so well, on the money every time, over the head. Or over the shoulder, my fault. He also had a great Senior Bowl performance. I mean, I know you love Jackson Dart. You've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm going to let you take over the show because I know you're eager.
This just made me feel so good about Jackson Dart, bro. Like, everything looked in rhythm. Everything looked clean. Even playing and running routes with receivers who aren't trying to run the cleanest routes. They're trying to run as fast as they can and then stop as fast as possible. Like, that's what they're trying to do out there. They're trying to show off just as much as Jackson Dart is. He was showing off. And his arm looked really good. It looked a lot better than a lot of the other lower or like mid-tier quarterbacks, guys like Quinn Ewers, guys like Jalen Milroe, guys like Will Howard in particular. He looked so bad. So, yeah, Jackson Dart really had himself a day, but he especially had himself a day compared to the other combine participants.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, it's not even like this was too much of a shock. We knew this coming into the combine that he was going to be able to hit these throws. If you watch Ole Miss games last season, Trey Harris on a go route, I mean, Jackson Dart was hitting him in the over the shoulders, in the hands every time. Like, it was on the money. He was able to run that offense very efficiently. He never really missed throws like that. It's just that people coming into this draft are thinking that Shedeur and Cam Ward are better, and honestly, I'm on the fence about it. I do think Shedeur is better, but Jackson Dart might have just gotten him a first-round spot.
Yeah, I just love because going into the offseason, it was 1 and 2, and then Jackson Dart is way down there.
Yeah.
And then Jackson Dart starts to talk his way up, and then he starts to go to the combine. He starts to play his way up, and then he goes to the pro day. I'm assuming has a great pro day. I'm assuming with Trey Harris starts to work his way up even more. Yeah, I could see a kind of Michael Penix kind of climb up to a surprising first round pick nobody's expecting right now.
Like, this is a team that I know Pittsburgh's fans are always in that middle area, that purgatory area where they're not able to get a good quarterback. Maybe they're able to get a guy like Jackson Dart. You know what I mean? Like, Arthur Smith was able to make Desmond Ridder look like a serviceable quarterback for half a season, a couple seasons ago. And maybe he can do something with Jackson Dart. You know what I mean? It's just, I like it. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I think he's able to, if he gets drafted into the first round, go to a better situation than players like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. So
yeah, I feel like if he gets to a good situation, that's going to be really, really, really important for him. Like, Cam and Shedeur have a better chance of just making anywhere work. But if Jackson Dart gets in a good situation, there's some real potential there.
There's a lot of real potential there. Okay. We'll move on to Jalen Milroe because I know you want to talk about Jalen Milroe. Very disappointing combine performance, and this is a guy that should have had a great performance. If you watch Alabama games last year, he was able to make a lot of the throws, even though sometimes he would make the terrible decision and throw it straight to the defense. He could whip it all over the field, on the run, standing in the pocket. He had good movement, great speed. He seems like he had the athletic ability to get a good RAS, and it just didn't work out. And I know you were very disappointed because this was kind of like, you weren't?
No, I am. Like, he should build-wise and, traits-wise, Jalen Milroe is, the perfect combine quarterback, bro. He is very tall, very strong, very fast, has a cannon of an arm. He should be, ripping the ball all over the field. He should have ran the 40 and ran a 4.6 or a 4.7. He should have been explosive on the 10-yard dash. He should have did the vertical. He should have done the broad jump. And instead, he just decided to throw and throw poorly. He didn't even let it rip on the deep. I will say, his best throws were actually his deep balls. So when he was letting it rip, he was letting it rip far, and he was completing those balls. All the underneath stuff, the stuff that you actually need to run an offense and win a game, not that great. I will say, though, whenever you have that kind of performance at the combine, you'll, get one random coach who, gets a twinkle in their eye, and they're like, oh, I can make him a better quarterback. I can raise his floor and then let his ceiling take off to where he can be great. And it'll maybe in that sense he might have caught some GM's eye, but I don't think so.
I hate to do it, but watching him at the combine, being in the same division as Anthony Richardson, missing a bunch of throws, but being able to throw the ball 75 yards in the air. I was seeing a lot of reminiscence of Anthony Richardson. I wish Jalen Milroe ran, like you just said. I feel like he could have gotten a really, really good time, maybe low 4.4.
Yeah.
Easily.
He could have took off, bro. He could have, Tyler Shaw was a dude who had a great 40 at a 4.63 at Notre Dame. He would have got that blown out the water. 4.63. He would have made it look slow. So
yeah, it's just and I wanted to talk about Tyler Shaw out of Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, I apologize. That was my fault. I was going to talk about Riley Leonard. That's why I said Notre Dame right there in our notes. Yeah. But like you said, Tyler Shaw ran a 4.63 40. Top speed of 21.26 miles per hour.
That's an athlete. That could have been Jalen Milroe.
No, it could have been Jalen Milroe could have been way better than Tyler Shaw.
I don't know. It's I wish he was running, and hopefully at the pro day.
That's what I was gonna say.
He does decide to lock in, and he does decide to run, and he does decide to wow us. Because the thing is, I feel he's maybe worried that teams are gonna view him as not a quarterback. Who cares, bro? If that's how you're gonna get on the field, do it.
Yeah. Do you think maybe his career trajectory is something similar to a Joe Milton right now?
Terrell Pryor.
Wow. Okay. I mean, Terrell Pryor wasn't.
He was a solid starting quarterback, and then he
then-
went to receiver, and he was a solid starting receiver. I feel like both of those could happen for Jalen Milroe.
We'll
Because
see.
I remember following, because he's around the same graduating high school class as us. I followed him in high school. Bro was like that good at Katie Tompkins. He was a freak athlete. He was like jacked like an NFL player as a high schooler. He could have been a running back at Alabama, and he would have been perfect. But Nick Saban decided to let him go at quarterback.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk about that, too, while he was at Alabama. Jalen Milroe only went on 2 visits. Very interesting visits. So, obviously, the Cleveland Browns are interviewing every quarterback in this draft. They need to replace somebody, or they need somebody to replace Deshaun Watson. But the Detroit Lions also interviewed him, which is interesting. I don't know why they would.
I feel like the Lions are just trying to find some high potential guy to get behind Jared Goff and see if they can be the team to raise Jalen Milroe's floor while letting his ceiling just take off and let him be great.
Yeah. Lastly, we're going to move on to offensive line. We only put one guy in here for the spotlight.
That's really all you need.
Yeah, Armin Mimbo.
Okay, this dude out of Mizzou. Will Campbell, I will say, is still the best offensive tackle in this draft. He only did bench press. Of course. that's a very Will Campbell thing to do. But Armand, he is a freak athlete at the tackle, okay? 330 pounds. This is going to sound fake. He ran the fastest miles per hour at the NFL Combine. All right, I said it earlier we started the show off, or the 40-yard times off with, okay? Nick Amon-Wari, 23 miles per hour. Membo, 24 miles per hour. He was faster at 330 miles per hour. It is insane. He ran a 4.91 in the 40-yard dash. Had a crazy high vertical, had a crazy high broad jump, had a relative athletic score of 9.89, best for the 17th offensive tackle performance all time at the Combine. That is the type of performance that might secure bro a top 15 spot, because he was like a top 20 pick, maybe top 25. Yeah, he's just vaulted himself up to top 15, maybe even top 10.
Yeah, insane stuff from that guy. Definitely boosted his draft stock there.
Like, in some ways, there's going to be some teams that now view him higher than Will Campbell because he's a better straight athlete than Will Campbell, and Will Campbell is a better blocker, and some teams value that athleticism at tackle more than they value the pure blocking skill.
Yeah. It is 7:41 p.m. We're going to hit a quick music break. We were supposed to hit one at the half hour, but we're going to go ahead and hit one right now. Hope everybody's enjoying Battle Red Radio. We will be right back to talk more Combine. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio. Hope everybody's enjoying the show so far. I've been having a really good time. A lot of news today, like I said, and hopefully it keeps us up as we go further along into the NFL offseason. We're just going to touch base on some things that were happening with some of the top prospects coming into the draft. So Cam Ward, Miami quarterback, is set to maybe be the number 1 overall pick in the draft to the Tennessee Titans. We do not know yet, but at the Combine, he met with the New York Giants and Jets, expressing confidence in both of these offensive schemes, and he believes the Jets are close to contending more than they might seem, which I think is interesting for a QB to say about the New York Jets, because I know, as we expressed earlier, we do not feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets are not ready to contend right now at any way, shape, or form. Some other visits that he had, the Giants, I already think the Giants with Cam Ward for some reason is like magic waiting to happen, but maybe I'm reaching for straws there. He also visited the Browns and the Raiders and the Vikings. Why is he visiting with the Vikings? Like, what are they cooking up in Minnesota for them to be visiting with Cam Ward?
I did not know that.
Yeah. What are they cooking, bro?
Maybe a Sam Darnold trade to Tennessee. That seems like a Tennessee move right there. It seems like
I don't even want to think about that, dude.
Okay, yeah, I don't either. And then we got Shadur Sanders, also the number 2 rated quarterback in the NFL draft. He delivered a very bold message at the NFL Combine. He said, if you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't get me. This is interesting because a lot of the people and a lot of the secrets around the GMs during the NFL Combine, they love what Shadur Sanders can do on the field. It's about what's off the field for him. So is it more about him wanting the intangibles? You know what I'm saying? So, like, does he want a championship? Does he want to work well with a team? Or does he want to
be the franchise guy?
No, because that's also a good thing that kind of I put in the same sphere as a championship. Or does he want to go to the league for the bling? You know what I'm saying? That's what these GMs are saying, or that's what I've been hearing from multiple interviews and things like that.
To me, it seems like it's more along the lines of he wants to be like seen as the guy instead of being seen as a part of the team, and that's why I don't see it as a good thing. It is a good thing to want to be like the franchise guy and to want all that pressure, but it's not a good thing to want to be the guy and not part of the team.
Yeah. That's another thing. It seems like it's a lot of me.
Yeah, for sure.
From Shedeur. And I remember I was hearing somebody talk about that when Deion got drafted. It was kind of the same thing with him. Yeah. You know what I mean? When he got drafted, he was like, I'm primetime. That's me. I'm Deion. That's me. I'm him.
Of course. He rolled up to the combine in a limo and then left to go play an MLB game, I think, or something like that. He was like ran the 40 and then dipped in a limo. He was primetime, bro. Everybody knew what it was. That's the thing, though. I don't know if Shedeur is primetime.
I don't think so either.
Like Deion was different, so he could do different things. Shedeur is not. Shedeur is a very high-level quarterback. He should be acting like a very high-level quarterback, not like he's different, because he's not.
I agree with you. And it's really something that we're just going to have to wait and see till the draft or next season for speculation just like that. The number 3 guy in the draft, or some guys, he didn't participate in the combine. However, he still has his name in the buzz. It's going to be Travis Hunter. The Patriots met with Travis Hunter, which is the number 4 team that's picking this draft. This seems like, and I put in the notes somewhere, that there seemed to be a plethora of Vrabel-esque dudes in this draft, and Travis Hunter, combined with his high-energy work ethic, is top of that list for Vrabel dudes.
Yeah, Vrabel dudes are just dudes who are going to grind it out, dudes who are going to, like, be physical, do whatever is asked of them. If they're asked to, like, go pick up a concrete bag, carry it up a mountain, and then throw it down, and then go get another one and do the same thing, they're going to do it because Mike Vrabel asked them to. Travis Hunter, I think, literally would do that. Like, he does not care what is asked of him on a football field. If he's asked to go be a cheerleader, and I guarantee you he's going to be the best cheerleader on the sideline, bro. That's the kind of athlete he is. And that's why it doesn't really surprise me that the Patriots would be trying to interview and draft a guy like Travis Hunter. Whenever you have a dude who's that talented, but not only that talented, that willing to work, it's basically only set up for greatness for him.
Yeah. The Patriots executive, Elliot Wolf, also came out and talked about Hunter, and he said that Travis Hunter could major in one position and minor in the other. And when I hear something like that, I kind of think about he's going to major in that defensive back position, minor in the receiver position, which
that's a really funny way of putting it by Elliot Wolf.
I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it is funny, but I think it's a good way to put it because if you put a guy like Travis Hunter, who we know, I think we agreed on this on a couple of shows ago, that he is a better defensive back than he is a receiver, although still a very good receiver, putting him alongside a absolute superstar like Christian Gonzalez on that defense.
That's a lockdown corner. If you pair them up, boy, there's not going to be many teams, whether it's because of the quarterback or because of the receivers, that are able to move the ball on or over in the air against that defense.
It would be a very stacked defense. It'd be something that Mike Vrabel would love. I 100% believe that. And to be able to sprinkle him in, maybe a little bit more sprinkle, maybe like a nice icing layer over the top with him on offense as receiver, that would be great for the Patriots. I absolutely love that. And I also love Will Campbell going to the Patriots. That's another Vrabel dude.
Yeah, Vrabel. And I feel like I can just imagine it now. In practice, Vrabel running a speed move against Will Campbell to show him what it's going to look like and how because I can see Mike Vrabel putting himself in that position and not letting a different coach or a player do that. That's just the kind of stuff Mike Vrabel is going to do. I can see it now.
Yeah. The more and more the offseason goes on, the more and more I kind of love. I'm falling in love with Travis Hunter a little bit more because I'm seeing him in the Patriots organization, and I feel like that would be such a good fit. That's because the Patriots have that reputation for being such a hardworking institution, I guess. It just makes sense for me. we're going to move on to the Houston Texans meeting. And I'm going to be talking a little fast here because we only have 8 minutes left of the show. And if you want to stop me or put any input, you just stop me. We interviewed a lot of guys. I think we almost filled up our whole top 30 visits. Here are some of the major names that we interviewed. So we interviewed North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton, a very powerful downhill runner. And my pro comp for him was Josh Jacobs. Now, I know you want to talk about him. This is one of your guys here.
Yeah, he's, again, to me, the second best running back in this draft, obviously behind G&T. G&T's, 101. But Omarion Hampton is a, lot closer second than most people realize because Ashton G&T almost won the Heisman. Omarion Hampton is probably I would say most NFL ready. Okay, Ashton G&T is the better running back, but he's a lot more. I don't know. I feel like Omarion Hampton is a better 3-down back. That's probably how I should say it. Ashton G&T is a lot more physical of a runner. He's a lot more explosive of a runner, but Omarion Hampton I think is better out of the backfield, and they're equal blocking.
Short yardage.
Yeah, and we talked about how great of a blocker G&T was, and Omarion Hampton's the same way.
Yeah, so obviously a great back right there, late first to mid-second round pick kind of guy. Another guy that we interviewed that I talked about on one of our early shows that I would like to see for the Texans to draft, whether it is not in the first round, but maybe a second round kind of guy, was Gunnar Helm out of Texas, tight end. He's a strong blocking tight end who can contribute as a secondary pass catching option. I feel like he would complement. I don't know if Dalton Schultz is definitely not the long-term option for Houston. Cade Stover is there on a rookie deal still. Brevin Jordan just got an extension. He would complement a guy like Brevin Jordan very well in a 2 tight end set. We need more tight end depth, and we interviewed a lot of them on our top 30 visits.
Yeah, I'd much rather a dude like Colston Loveland if we are going to draft a tight end than Gunnar Helm, but I'm fine with Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, my pro comp for him was Pat Freiermuth, second or third round pick for this guy. Not a bad option, for real. If we get him on a third round pick, I feel like that would be a steal. I'm going to let you talk about the next one here.
So, Emeka Egbuka is slot receiver out of Ohio State, slot receiver because that's really what he's going to excel at in the NFL. He's not really going to be an outside guy. He played with C.J. Stroud for a year, and then he has always been kind of asked to be the number 2 or the number 3, whether it's behind Marvin Harrison Jr. or this year it was behind Jeremiah Smith, both of who are like generational talents, right? So it makes sense that Emeka Egbuka is going to be behind him. He's a phenomenal route runner. He reminds me a lot of a dude like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's probably not as fast, not as athletic, but very sure in his routes, very sure in his hands, and he is kind of that security blanket that you're expecting out of a slot receiver. He's not going to be super explosive, but he's going to be super safe.
Yeah, so we interviewed him. A lot of people are expecting us to kind of tap into that. They want to see Emeka Egbuka as a Texan, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think C.J. Stroud's here for it too. I feel like he loves Emeka Egbuka, and I feel like Emeka is also here for it. He loves working with C.J. Stroud. Whenever they were asked about each other, or C.J.'s been asked about him in the past, or Emeka was asked about him this week, they have only had great things to say about one another.
And lastly, this is going to be the last one, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. No time to be able to do the hot take segment. We'll do it next show. We interviewed Kansas cornerback Coby Bryant. You were very excited about this. He's a very aggressive, physical quarterback that thrives in press man coverage. However, the Texans run a lot of zone, but this could be a little bit. He could be like a good complement to two guys like Derek Stingley Jr. or Kamari Lassiter with the Texans. He's not going to be a first or second round kind of guy, maybe a third, maybe a late second, but more likely a third, fourth round kind of guy.
I would love the value of Coby Bryant at the third or fourth round because of the kind of complementary football he plays to Stingley and Lassiter. They're both physical but kind of more zone-based corners. If we ever wanted to lock up in man, let's say we're in the red zone or whatever, we could swap out Lassiter for Bryant and then keep Sting because Sting is just that good one-on-one. That sounds like a pretty good depth corner to me.
Yeah, 100%. And just to let you know, he gave us some insights on how the conversation with the Texans went. This is a direct quote from Coby Bryant. It goes like this. Coby Bryant says, "They said they like dogs. I'm a dog. Kamari Lassiter is one of my friends. He's a dog. I'm a dog."
He's a dog, And that's what we like. He's a dog that swarms. That's the best part.
He's a swarming dog. And
Swarmer.
What is D'Amico like?
Swarming dogs.
Swarming dogs. I love a swarming dog. I think he'd be great as a Houston Texan. We're going to go ahead and wrap up Battle Red Radio today. We had a lot that we didn't get to talk about today. Like I said, when we were coming into the show, yesterday, I thought it was going to be a slow day. I had a lot of stuff planned to talk about, but I'm glad we had a lot of news come out today. It was a great, great show. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us for the newest episode of Battle Red Radio. We hope everyone listening had fun and enjoyed hearing about the latest buzz in the sports world, even though today was mostly the NFL. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Make sure to follow us at UHDI Radio on Instagram for updates. We hope everyone has a fantastic night, and we will see you on Thursday.